The main purpose of this video is that I want to cover basic gun maintenance, which basically entails keeping your firearm clean and serviceable. Alright, this is a subject that I was looking back through my YouTube videos and I was just thinking about some of the little gunsmithing type areas I could touch on, and I realized that, heck, I hadn't even made a video on just basic gun maintenance. So I want to talk a little bit about it. Before you see some tools that will aid you in that process. If you're just now getting into gun ownership and you don't know much about maintaining guns, hopefully this video will help you. I can definitely recommend Brownell's Magnatip Superset. If you watched the video that I have on basic gunsmithing tools, you've seen it. Includes a ton of different drivers and bits. This is a great little setup. Going to set you back probably about $125, so it's definitely not cheap, but it's an excellent setup. For everyday cleaning, I recommend the Hoppe's No. 9. This is a solvent, okay, and what solvents are used for is to break down powder and copper fouling. When a projectile is fired, depending on its construction, you will get copper residue left in the barrel, which, depending on the caliber and the gun design, can tend to hinder good accuracy over time. So a lot of shooters will recommend cleaning the copper out of the barrel with a solvent like this to get back down to the bare metal without any copper left in the barrel. This will also help with powder fouling. Powder fouling is where unburnt powder gets left in the action. Basically anywhere you see black sooty crap inside the action. If I open up this Glock and just take my pinky and rub the feed ramp. See that black on my pinky? That's powder fouling. Alright, powder fouling will gum up the action and eventually just throw off the clearances and tolerances that the gun is designed to operate into. So what it comes down to is a clean gun is a happy gun. Alright, so the Hoppe's No. 9 will help with copper and with powder fouling. This will help dissolve that and loosen it up where you can scrub it out. There's also lead remover that you can buy. I don't have a bottle of it here to show you, but if you have lead deposits, there are cleaning products that are designed to help with lead deposits. That'll help a lot of you that are shooting cast bullets and you get leading. We'll cover that more in a detailed video later. My oil of choice is Ballistol. Now I know what you're thinking. There's a lot of people on YouTube that down Ballistol, but personally I think it's a great oil, mainly for preservation. I lube up all my guns with Ballistol, especially the exterior surfaces to keep them from rusting, and I found it to be an excellent cleaner. Another good thing that Ballistol excels at is if you want to take some hot water and cut Ballistol with hot water, it's an excellent cleaning agent if you just want to scrub stuff down. And I can't say enough good things about Simple Green. I don't have a jar of it right on my counter to show you right this moment, but a little hot water in Simple Green can really go a long way in maintaining your guns. Alright, Nanocroil. This is a great penetrating oil. This is good if you get like stuck screws. Like for me, I work on a lot of old guns and everything, so a lot of times the screws on those guns can be stuck in place, just a real stubborn booger to get out. So a little Croil left to creep in there overnight and a little bit of heat from a gentle butane torch can definitely help in loosening up those stubborn screws. If you take the time to properly maintain your firearm, this is a C96 Mauser broom handle, one of the oldest semi-automatic pistol designs around. And this gun is close to 100 years old. Alright, by the production date, this one's almost 100. And this gun is still going strong to this day because it's been cared for and properly maintained. That's just, this pistol is a testament to what proper gun ownership and responsible care of your firearms can give you. Is a gun that lasts 100 years, and I've got one. I can prove it. It's right here in front of me. Of course, you'll need some cleaning patches, cut to various sizes to fit down the bore properly. A magnetic parts tray is a handy thing to have. Maybe a few punches, your cleaning rod with both your bronze brush attachments jags, and patch pullers. Okay, and that's really about it. For most of your general maintenance, you just need a rag, a little bit of time, some patches, and the stuff to get your guns apart. So now that we've laid the basics out on the table, literally, what we'll do is I'm going to reorganize all of my tools back where they belong on my bench over there, and I'm just going to take you through cleaning some of these guns. We're going to clean a Glock, Ruger 1022, and I'm just going to try to show some of the most common guns and the way that I would clean them and inspect them, and that way some of you guys can get an idea that are, you know, new to guns, the sort of things you may be looking for. So the first gun that we're going to talk about here, this is a Glock. Very popular pistol, very simple, very easy to take care of. I'm going to work quick, alright, so just make sure you're paying attention. Make sure it's empty. It's empty. To disassemble a Glock, you have to dry fire it. Pull the slide out of battery slightly, pull down on these two opposing tabs. Slide comes forward. Alright. For basic field stripping of a Glock, that's as far as you have to take it apart. For the purposes of this video, being simple and straight to the point, we're going to keep it to these basic components. Saturated patch with hops number 9. Let's go ahead and coat the barrel with the solvent. Now these solvents, what you're looking to do is basically just let them sit and let them do a good bit of the work, you know. They'll attack the copper and the powder and loosen it up, make it softer and easy to remove. So don't be shy to go ahead and let a nice coat of it sit in the barrel. We're going to set that to the side. Don't worry about that for now. For the slide, again, remember, I'm not disassembling this any further. You know what? What the heck? I will. We'll go ahead and pull this Glock slide apart. You have to learn how to do it anyway. To disassemble a Glock slide, go ahead and pull down on this little plunger right here, like so. Push down on the back plate. Alright, see that comes off. Lift the striker assembly out, like so. Your ejector plunger comes out, that powers the extractor. That's pretty much it. To get the to remove the actual extractor, just push down on this plunger, falls right out. Look how easy that is. Invert it. It should fall right out, but anyway. Okay. That's your basic components of a Glock slide. Other than the sights, this thing is field stripped. So since we field stripped the slide, go ahead and clean this thing up a little bit. Just grab a brush, a little bit of your hops, hoppies, whatever, saturated, just scrub it down real nice. Most of your powder fouling, powder buildup is going to be in this area. Just make sure you scrub the breech face real good. You don't want any tolerance added to this area, because that'll affect the lockup of the barrel. You want, especially on a 10mm like this, you want maximum locking surface. So you want to make sure the breech face is nice and clean. So just go ahead and coat it down with some of this solvent. You're not going to hurt it one bit. These things are dead simple to take care of. There's nothing to them. So we're going to let that sit a while. And as you're going through, just make, just inspect everything. You're looking for chips, cracks, worn out parts, weak springs. I mean, especially in a Glock, you're looking for cracked polymer pieces. There's a lot of little polymer pieces in this gun, which is one of the nice things about it. You know, parts are easy to replace, they're cheap, so you're checking for that. I mean, there's really not a lot to it. It's pretty simple. Okay, so basically just following the same basic method. Whenever I clean a Glock, I like to take the thing down to the smallest piece. I mean, that's just the way I do things. But for the purposes of this video, and with it being geared towards just, new firearms owners, this is just to give you an idea of the kind of things you're going to run into with caring for your guns. I mean, you can pay a gunsmith to do it and it'll be done professionally, but you know, I'm trying to teach, you know, self-sufficiency here, alright? That's what my YouTube page is about. So, you can use a nice gentle solvent, scrub everything down. Use care when allowing solvents to sit on polymer too long. Just wipe everything down. You know, the brush is going to assist in getting all the powder fouling loose, alright? So all you're basically going to do is go back and, you know, wipe down each part, get everything solvent free, dirt free. If you have to, use your compressed air to dry everything out real good. And like I said, I would, you know, I always take my Glock apart the smallest piece to clean it. This is just for basics, real simple. So you're basically just going through, checking each component, making sure everything functions like it's supposed to. You're looking for broken parts, worn out springs. You'll know if something's off, especially on a Glock. You know, the beauty of a Glock is there's not a whole lot to go wrong and they're dead simple to take care of. Glock is the perfect handgun for the first time gun buyer or experienced gun buyer. Doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and reassemble the slide. For lubricating, what I like to do, take a small punch like this and add my lubricant where I want it. See how it kind of comes down to a drop? Take my punch and put my lube where I want it. They make needle oilers that are real handy, okay? So, going back together, just replace your extractor where it belongs, hold it in place, put the spring-loaded plunger in there. Push it in place, that's it. Not a whole lot to it. Your plunger that powers your extractors right here, replace it. Replace your striker assembly, which you can disassemble it if you want, but for most average cleaning, just make sure it's nice and clean and serviceable. A little drop of oil on it. A little touch of oil. For oiling, if you want to grab a Q-tip, put a little oil on there, you're fine. Glocks don't require a whole heck of a lot of lubrication. They're dead simple to take care of. Alright, so to replace the back plate, real easy. Compress the striker assembly with the back plate, or with your finger first, and then just hold it down with the back plate. Grab a small punch to push down the plunger that powers the extractor, and just snaps in place. That's it. That's all there is to it. Now what you may do is just take a basic patch, a little oil. I know some people say you don't have to oil your Glocks because it's 10 for slide, but I'm picky. I like to oil mine. And see, that's a true test. I mean, when you clean your gun and oil it up and then you rub an oil patch all over it, you don't get no black, then that lets you know it's nice and clean. In the military, that's one of the things they use as an indicator to see if you've cleaned properly or not, is to rub a patch all around it, and if they grab any black, then that lets you know. So see, got a little touch of black, but I think we passed. Now another little trick that I like to use for the Glock is I like to apply the C5A Loctite lubricant which is a copper-based anti-seize, and this is the exact same thing that Glock from the factory puts on all of their guns. And of course, when you get a Glock from the factory, it's going to be lubricated pretty much about like that. Now, one way you know if your copper solvent's working is it'll turn the patch blue. See this blue? That's dissolved copper. Alright, so we're going to dry our barrel out. What I've done is I've actually just taken a brush that's loose fitting, and I like to wrap a patch around it till it fits tight. I find that that's the best way to clean the barrel on just about any gun. Me personally, I've been doing it that way for quite some time, and I like doing it that way, but everyone's results may vary depending on their individual needs. Alright, so we're going to remove all the solvent, and you see that I scrubbed solvent on the locking lug recesses, on the barrel, and everything. Okay, so we want to make sure, get this little guy nice and clean. Alright, so the same patch that we had our Ballistol on earlier, just go ahead and wipe the barrel down with a gentle coat of oil, nothing crazy. Alright, so oiled up our barrel, bore's nice and clean. Really not a whole lot to this process. We got the, slide lubed back up with the anti-seize, wiped down with a little Ballistol. Not a whole lot to it. This gun's self-lubricating. Everything will get all the anti-seize in the area it needs to on the frame. There's really not anything to oil here. Pretty damn basic pistol to take care of. Not a whole lot to them. Alright, so there's your basic Glock cleaning, alright, and that'll apply to many of your semi-automatic pistol designs and things like that. Pretty simple and straightforward. Of course, it'll take you a lot less time than what it just took me to explain it. Alright, now for this one I know what you're thinking. Eric, this isn't a common pistol. But there's something I want to explain on these. With the 22 rimfire pistols can be subject to what's called cushioning. And what happens is lots of carbon buildup can get in the actual area right here where the rim sits, where it headspaces, and what it can do is it can cushion the strike of the firing pin and actually keep it from setting off the rim of the cartridge to fire it. Okay, so on rim fires, that's why it's extremely important to keep this area nice and clean. Alright, and I'm just using this gun to demonstrate that to you. Keep that area nice and clean. And really on the Beretta Minxes and any rimfire Beretta like this, that's really the only cleaning you got to do right there. What I just did. Take a Q-tip, swab the bore, take a Q-tip and wipe the end of the chamber where the rim actually headspaces, and that's it. This little gun will run just fine. Take it apart about once a year and oil it well and scrub down the do that right now. Can take and just scrub down the breech face of the slide. That's really about it there. So 22 pistols can be very simple to take care of. Again, the reason I mentioned it is so now you know. As I scrub the inside of this 1022 receiver, you can really see how well the solvents help break up the powder fouling. 22 firearms in general are notorious for their excessive amounts of powder fouling. It's really just nature of their design. They're just dirty guns. See all that black residue? That's what we're trying to get out. Here's a nice example of how Q-tips can aid in getting in really small areas. Take a Q-tip and just saturate it in some solvent. You can really get into some of those hard to reach areas. Get a lot of that powder fouling broke loose and get that on out of there. They make a device for cleaning rifle barrels called a bore guide, and essentially what it's designed to do is to keep the cleaning rod centered with the bore so the cleaning rod doesn't bang against the chamber, the crown, or anything like that. You definitely want to avoid scratching the interior surface of the barrel with your cleaning rod as best you can. Now, one way that I've gotten around that is I use a coated graphite rod that's not made out of steel, and what that does is it helps a lot. You really don't have to generally use a bore guide when you're using a coated rod. Now, I do that just because I like to keep things nice and simple. But on some of your match rifles and some of your fancier guns that have, you know, real nice barrels in them, you definitely want to invest in a bore guide. They're relatively inexpensive. You can pick them up for around $30, $40 for a good one. So I went ahead and just coated the bore with a nice bit of hops there. Let it sit up while we clean everything else. On a Ruger 1022, this is where you're going to concentrate a good bit of your cleaning efforts. It's going to be the inside of the receiver and the bolt. This is what catches most of the grief with all the buildup and everything. I'd recommend a detailed assembly of the bolt at least every 6 months if you shoot it a good bit. For everyday cleaning though, you can generally get away with just soaking it down real nice and scrubbing it good with a brush. Now, every day in the capacity of my job and what I do, we're disassembling guns to the smallest piece when we clean them, because that's, you know, a gunsmith style cleaning, that's what you're going to get, okay? That's what you're paying a gunsmith to do. This video is geared towards the average gun owner that just wants to keep their firearms clean. A lot of carbon buildup gets on the bolt face on rimfires. That's just the nature of them. They're dirty guns. So again, take your brush, just scrub that area real nice. You don't want to get any cushioning from the powder. That would keep the cartridge from going all the way in the battery and getting a full strong primer strike. So scrub that bad boy down, let the solvents do the work, break things down well. Now when you start getting your reassembly going on and you're lubricating everything, you definitely want to use a good bit of care not to use too much lubricant, especially on rimfires, because what will end up happening is the thing will just basically turn into a giant, you know, glob bucket. So there's a fine line there. You want a level of lubrication that if you run your finger across the item, you can get just a a slight amount of lubricant on your finger. You don't want a whole ton. You don't want it doused in oil, because that's just going to turn into a giant, you know, it's just not good. Alright? Go ahead and put this little guy back together. Sometimes it's necessary to disassemble magazines and clean them. Since I've got one of the new Ruger BX25s, they're new to me anyway, I'm going to go ahead and take one apart and let's see what they're all about. Very simple little setup. Very cool. Makes it real easy to clean the feed lips and the follower simply by disassembling the magazine. Also, if the body of the magazine gets dust or dirt, you know, that's a real easy setup to just blow them out. This is excellent. I love this idea. So simply by taking the magazine apart, wiping it down real nice, maybe putting a drop of oil on the one little moving part in there. Really a simple way to take care of your magazines. I really like the BX25. Just seems like a wonderful little setup to go with the 1022. Alright, I'm going to talk while I work, and I'll try to keep the racket with table noise down to a minimal. This is an SKS. This particular model is a D model, which means that it accepts AK-47 magazines and drums. Other than that, it's pretty much the same as any other SKS. The reason I bring this up in this video, we've covered the Glock so far. We talked a little bit about rimfires, specifically the Ruger 1022. The reason I mention this rifle is because a lot of the ammo out there, particularly the Yugo M67 ball ammunition, is corrosive. You want to make sure you clean your rifle very well after firing that kind of ammo. Alright. I have a video up already about cleaning your rifle after you've used corrosive ammunition. If you haven't checked that out already, I strongly suggest you do. It's got a lot of good information in it. But this is pretty much your typical semi-automatic rifle. So hopefully you'll get an idea of a few of the disassembly procedures required. Alright, we're just going to get into this SKS. There's your basic overall components for an SKS right there. You saw how easy that was to break down overall. Very simple setup. This is your basic components you're going to field strip to. Not a whole lot, but the main thing is, like just overnight, here's a great example. See how I've got rust on my gas piston already? That's just from sitting up overnight. Imagine what a month in the gun safe without being cleaned can do to this weapon after firing that corrosive ammunition. We're going to get to it. There's not really a ton to this process. I mean, you're really just cleaning every little part, okay? That's all gun maintenance is really about. This video is meant to be for, a person just getting into it, maybe don't know a whole lot about it. This should point you in the right direction, alright? The bolt carriers on these SKSs get really grimy. That's where a bulk of all the gas forces that do escape through are going to go. One of the saving graces of the Norinco SKSs is that almost all of them are chrome lined. Alright, that makes cleaning a heck of a lot easier, especially with corrosive ammunition. That process is just a heck of a lot easier. I got my Yugo SKS and I shoot that quite a bit, but I would say that my Norinco SKSs see more use than the Yugos just because they are that much easier to clean. A little bit of work on the buffing will really help get that gas piston nice and clean. That's how you want it to look. I realize that a few of the processes in this video might have seemed a little random and misplaced in terms of the order and the way I presented the information, but hopefully everything in this video was concise and straight to the point, and you can make those guns last forever. Like this Mauser broom handle. There's no telling, this thing might last another 100 years if somebody takes care of it that has it after me. So take care of your guns, and hopefully if you're new to gun ownership in general, maybe you gleaned a little knowledge from this video. There'll be more of this stuff to come.